Hi everyone, Tony here from Dynamic Digital Creations. I'm on to the next model, and it's quite an exciting one. It's been one I've been waiting for quite a while to get done. We've been working on the 3D model, and I've got it as accurate as what I could to the movie. So what I want to do over here is go over the main parts, and then just show how it goes together, the main sections. And then as I go through the build, I'll explain how to put the legs together and the ramp and the wings, although the wings are pretty simple. Like I said, the model consists of different methods of model making. So there is cast parts, which is out of 2-part resin, and then there's FDM parts, which is printed on an FDM filament printer, and the reason for this is for weight and for strength. The long sections, especially the wings, would sag over time if it's a long piece of resin, and the wings are long. The wingspan from left to right on this model is over 1 meter, so that's 3.5 feet plus minus, maybe longer. The only downside with the FDM is going to need work, unfortunately, because it creates lines. So you'll see in this one, this is like the tail section, and it's got lines. You'll see that. But luckily I chose FDM for these specific parts. This and the wings is because it can be sanded. So use your filler, your Tamiya filler or similar, and just fill it, sand it first, then paint it first, and then fill it, and then sand it, and then paint it again. I recommend painting everything. Okay, first thing, like I always explain in the build document, is with all the resin parts is clean it off. Take soap and water and clean off the mold release, or else your glue won't stick. And you'll find that when you stick if you want to mask something off with tape, it'll pull the paint right off and then it'll piss you off. That's happened to me. Okay, so paint all the parts first. Paint all the direct printed parts, because that's the other medium. It's casting, it's FDM, and there's direct printed parts. Spray them while they're on their build supports or their growth supports, and you can see easily where to cut the support off because I'm going to post them, most of them, on their supports because it protects them. Okay, so as I said, I'll start from the back. So this is your rear section, and you can see this is just the tail. So the model is long. I think it's just over 70 centimeters. Okay, so, and then you get your rear section. I'm not sure if whether this lights up or not. It could. This is directly printed, so it's not light, but it is pretty hollow. And you see I've got a little piece that broke off, so I might exclude that from the print for the model that I sell, but it's not needed. So basically this slides onto the tail. Okay, and then you can glue it on, or you can leave it loose and maybe make something inside to a magnet to hold it in if you want to. Okay, so it fits quite nicely. Okay, this is going to have little burrs and things all over it. You see the bottom is quite rough, so you need to sand it down, sand the edges around. I've pulled all the support off. There's support inside, which I could not get out, so you can try and pull that out to reduce weight, but I don't think it's adding much. Okay, so moving on from there, your side sections are these two. Okay, and the reason why I haven't made one volume for the body is because there essentially is no floor on this craft. So the only floor that is on the cockpit. Okay, so I had to devise a way to make it all fit together so that it actually doesn't fall apart. So some screwing and tapping is going to be needed, or drilling and tapping, and with screws. Okay, so like I say, some screwing is needed. Don't screw yourself over and not do what I show you, because you might do something wrong and the model falls apart, which I don't want since you paid for it. Okay, so over here you'll see there is these sections where the seats go onto, and this has got these little square sections. So basically these fit in and then just push into this area over here. Okay, it pushes over. So it's your option to glue this on or to leave it loose. But what you need to do before you do this is put your floating floor into this body section. So this goes over, pushes in. Okay, like with all resin prints, is clear up the edges with a small file. Clear up the edges. You'll see it once you've painted it, but the resin is grey, so you should see it. Okay, so with this in, there's a small gap underneath. Okay, so that's there to hold two things. So first of all, this part, so it goes into the hole there. Same with this one. Doesn't matter if this piece comes loose now, you can push it in afterwards. So now you can push this in. Now there's still a gap at the bottom, still an opening. You should be able to see it. Okay, so we've got two sections, which is your ramp holder, and there's two of them. One is angled on the inside, and that's for closed position, and one is flat on the bottom, and that is for open position. So this basically slides into that gap, so you're gonna have to hold it quite tight. Just push it so it goes in on either one of them till it sits flush. Okay, so now that's your base. Okay, and you'll find that this section here, which is the further part of your ramp holder, slides onto this. Okay, this is now open position, as you can see. Okay, so with this, you need to drill a hole, two holes, and it'll go right through this base, this part, and the floating floor. Okay, maybe even not, but I'll have to see when I get to building it. Okay, preferably not, but you can fill the hole once you do, and then you'll have to repeat it with this one, and then tap through this section to hold that in. This one, let me get a pointer. This one has a gap here and over here. So same procedure, you drill through this. Might work only to go to angle. Again, I'll have to see when I get to the build, but drill through and tap it. So these are screwed together. Okay, if you glue this on, you don't need to do that. Okay, so as you can see with the shape, your tail has two hole sections, so you can drill and tap those, and then that goes into this area. And as you can see over here, there's two little things, so these come together at the back, and this goes in. Okay, so preferably drill it when it's in place, but you need to do some sanding just to make sure it sits flush, because there's a bit of a gap. Okay, so I'm not going to go over the ramp or the smaller parts at the moment. I'm just going through the main sections. Okay, so once that is done, then you have your roof. There's a section that's already put on some parts onto it, as you can see over here. That's your detail on the bottom. As for these mounts for the wings, okay, the top ones you get one set, and they're marked 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and these are able to turn, so they can face in a folded position. For the lower ones you get 2 for each, because they do not. It's not possible to do that. So you'll see on top of each one there's a number, and that faces upwards. So 1, 2, 3, it's not as visible, and 4. But that's hardly at all visible, so you probably won't see it, but it's pretty obvious. If you see number 1 and 2 and number 3, then you know, well, number 4 is obviously this last one. Okay, in these you get 8 of them. You're gonna have to just chop and change to see where they fit in quite tightly. Exactly the same. You drill through the mount, which I'll show when I get to the wings, and then you get a little nut that goes in the bottom. Okay, that's for the wings that folds up. Okay, now for all the wing parts, you're gonna get well, you're not going to get it in the kit. This is a I'm going to sell, I think for the first 5 or so kits, the magnets, but you'll have to buy them separately if you don't buy them from me. But they're very, very strong, and I'm hoping they hold the wings in. Some of these are quite loosish, as you can see. So the idea is there's a gap on the bottom of each of these mounts. It's exactly the right size, the 1 centimeter by 1 millimeter. And on the inside of this as well, you see there's a gap. And then on this, inside of this, there's a gap. This is flat. So just glue it onto the center. Just make sure that you have them the right way around before you glue them on, or else if you stick it in, it's going to be negative to negative or plus to plus and push it out. So make sure you have them the right way around. Okay. I'm hoping the bottom ones work. That was the plan, so we'll see what happens. Okay, you find on some of these mounts that they have bubbles. It's unfortunately part of the molding process, because it's actually open mold with, it's a squish mold, so bubbles can get trapped. Some of them have got quite big bubbles, so like this one, but that gets covered with a magnet. So you just fill it up with a glue and then you stick your magnet on there. Okay, some other ones over here have even bigger ones, but you can just fill them. This one over here has got a big bubble. So, like I say with all my kits, I say it on my website, I won't release a part out of my garage workshop unless I'm willing to build it and fix it myself. So if I feel, well, that's too much work, I'm not willing to fix it or work on it, then it actually goes into a bin right next to me. This didn't go in the bin because number 1, it's hidden, and number 2, it's easy to fill because it's actually just like a swimming pool. And number 3 is half of this gets filled up with gets covered up with the magnet. Okay, so that's your main section. I'm going to take these off for now and just dump them here on the side, and then show you what happens over here on this top section. Okay, so there's 2 little lugs on the side, and there's a little hole. Okay, so this basically sits flush, goes into the hole. Okay, it's like so. So that's your main body. Okay, and then this piece just goes on top. And that covers the 2 screws, because this will be exposed. Put this in. Okay, that will be closed up with this. Okay, I'm just going to shoot back to the rear section quick, just to show you the other 2 parts you get is the covers for these, which is this resin cast part. You just sand off the bottom, and then this flat piece, so that basically covers up your so you see there's a place for holes over here as well. So this goes into this gap, and there's a gap between, so that's where you can see from here, that's where this section goes in. So you're screwing or drilling through 3 sections, and then that basically keeps the tail on. So whether you glue the tail on or not is your choice. And then this obviously just covers up this section, goes in, sits flush. Okay, the bottom has a whole new printed part which goes on, which I'll show when I get to that section. I'll cover that when I do the ramp. Okay. And now I'm going to move on to this front section. Okay, so then you got your just to show how strong these magnets are, it's actually quite interesting. Okay, these you will never pull them apart. Okay, I think it's going to take about 40 magnets for the kit. So if I break this in half and I put one on my hand, that's how strong this magnet is. It's working right through my hand. And I know it's a mass of magnets that's doing it, but I mean, look at that. It's quite freaky, eh? Woo! Okay, so there you go. So that's magnet fun. Okay, so this is your base for your cockpit, and this basically takes very little sanding to actually fit in. It's got a gap on the bottom which fits over this gap, and there's a space there for you to add cables for lighting. Okay. Okay, so it goes in and it actually pushes into this gap on the back. And sits quite tight. Okay, so that's your, so this is basically your cockpit floor, which holds all the seats, 5 seats, and then you've got 4 seats in the back, and that's a floating floor. But that's the reason why the model had to be split up like I did. And then obviously your canopy. Okay, so canopy is a bit tricky because it doesn't fit 100% unless you maybe, well, I'm gonna have, well, mine, I think I'm gonna have to use some hot water just to bend these out slightly, so they sit flush. If you're gonna glue this on, then just glue it on. It doesn't need to have anything else. But when it comes to windows, I'm gonna have to experiment. I've made 3 prints which I've used as a vacuum form for these 4 windows. Okay, I'm gonna have to test them and see how they fit. Okay, vacuum forming the plastic isn't very thin, so I didn't do it for the sides or for the front. So I'm going to try and see if I can do this out of flat plastic and then just indent the bends, not diving bends, model bends. Okay, to see if I can get it in there and then somehow glue it in. This is, in my opinion, going to, beside the wings, will probably be the most tricky bit on the whole kit. But my intention was that this clipped into this little piece over here on the front. But I mean, in 3D things don't always work out as they planned in reality. Okay, so you see on this also there's a little hook. An idea of that is a little space over here on top. And that basically just goes in there and holds it. Okay, I might need to open this gap slightly, but with this on, okay, let's get this in. So there's your main body inside. So this, the idea is, or the planned idea is that this clips in the front and then it's held quite well. You can see it's, see this one's slightly bent but not too much. Okay, so it actually holds it in if you take your finger off, but there's a gap, slight gap, which wasn't there on the 3D model. So I might eventually just glue the whole thing together and fill up the gaps. I will see. Okay, so I think that's everything on the main sections. As for coloring, I'm going to do a video on that, but to me the color on, I'm going to go for the full-size mock-up color, which is like a grey blackish color with brown sand all over it. Looks like muck. Although in some scenes it does look brownish, so I've done some screen grabs. If you look at our website and on the top image it looks brown, but there is some where it's bluish, and I know the full scale one is blue. Well, not blue, blackish greyish color. Okay, just one more thing before I forget is these lower mounts. Okay, so just out of interest sake, you're going to have to, on the lower ones you have to use extra magnets. That's why there's extra magnets, because it's one for the body, which are already on there, then one for this, and then one on the inside and outside, but there's 2 sets of these, so it's an extra 8 magnets compared to what it should be. Okay, so you find that the open ones, you don't really see the numbers very well. I think this is a number 5. So the way it works is you've got your top 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's only 4, and they're only numbered up to 4. Then you've got 5, 6, 7, 8, 2 of each. Okay, so 5 will have the open version, which is straight up, and then it will have the angled version, which faces backwards. Okay, the numbers always face directly up, except the top ones because they rotate. Okay, so this one here looks like it's a 5. Okay, so I know 1, 2, 3, 4, this is 5. with the number facing upwards. Okay, now it fits loosely inside here, so the magnets, unless you glue this in, it's going to fall out. Okay, and the wings are long. Okay, and obviously you have your angled one. This is a clear 5, as you can see. Okay, so that faces backwards and goes in. A little bit tighter, which is good. And as I said, you can't rotate these, because if I try and rotate this so that it faces outwards, it faces downwards. So unless you want it in the flying position, then you can rotate it down, and then you can rotate the other ones upwards. Okay, so that could work as well. So yeah, that's I didn't think of that. But obviously these, yeah, you can rotate them any way you want. It's going to face outwards. Okay. Okay, so next video is going to be, I'm going to go over the ramp and then the legs. I might make a separate video, and then I'll make a separate video completely on all the printed parts, because there is quite a lot. This model has a fair amount of resin, but it's actually got more printed parts than anything else. It's the printing between the wings and the ramp parts and the legs is 50 to 60 hours of printing. So you order a kit, you're not going to get it immediately. I mean, number one, I'll obviously have a interest list, but yes, like I say, it's you're going to have to wait, because things takes time, especially printing. And the reason why they're printed is because they're complex, and I'm going to put a complex part through a molding process, because it's going to lose detail. Okay, I think that's it on this. If I think of anything, I will mention it as I go along. I might forget things now. They'll be in the build document, so you'll get a build document with all the extra information, because I will take photos as I go along as best I can. But as I say, feel free to contact me if you have any questions on the build. Yeah, let's hope it comes out the way I planned, but we will see at the end. Okay, till the next one, guys. Thanks a lot. Cheers.